talking about reciting a story or narrating a story. So if I tell you about specifically myself, so what I used to do, if I tell you 1 month ago, 2 months ago, what I used to do, I used to read a story, small short story from any book, and then try to, you know, do the things like cramming the things which I earlier used to do, like, word to word and sentence to sentence, one by one, sentence wise, line wise, saying the things, reciting the story. So somewhere I was going, that time, stuck, stumbled. Many times this happened with me when it came to do the, storytelling, narrating a specific story, small children's story, even though I was somewhere getting stumbled and making a lot of mistake, and all the time ended up making a lot of mistakes. So this happened with me a lot of times. So somewhere I feel like it's a hard nut to crack for me to do the storytelling and reciting any storytelling. Then I realized that what is storytelling all about? Storytelling is nothing like saying any story, reciting any story in your words, your own words. So I would like to here share one of my experience which I had yesterday. Yesterday what happened, I watched one small story on YouTube, and it was in Hindi, not in English. I watched that story in Hindi. So it was really like touching story, poignant story. So I felt like very emotional when I watched that story. So after watching that story, I felt like it was really somewhere touched my heart. And you know what, when I was watching that story on YouTube, three things were really active, like my eyes, my ear, and my brain wires, meaning three of the things were correlating one another. And I was, watching that movie wholeheartedly, somewhere I feeling like this much touched. And then what happened next, I felt like I can recite the story. Even though I watched that story in Hindi, I was this much confident that I can recite the story to anyone. So I had one audio call with somebody at the same time, like after 5-10 minutes later, I had a call on audio, and we had a conversation. And there I said to that lady I was talking to that I wanted to share a story, recite a story. I'm not really good at story, even though I'm trying to recite that story which I watched a couple of minutes ago, but I watched that story in Hindi, not in English. So what I had to do that moment, I had to recite the story in my own words, and which I did. You won't believe what happened next. I was this much touched with that story, and it was really melting my heart. So I recited that story, and when I was reciting that story, that to that lady on audio call, things were coming, like it was like kind of a picture formation going on in my eyes, and my ear, and my brain wire, it all these all the things were connected, and it was quite resonating. And somewhere, there was a connection, and with that synergy I recited the story step by step, meaning the things which happened first, for the first time, which happened after that next thing happened. So this is how I recited that story. And I was not thinking about the sentence formation, neither sentence formation nor the words I was choosing to use, and I used them. So it was quite different experience I had, and I was totally awestruck that I did that. It took me at least 14 to 50 minutes to recite that story, and I recited that story in a very nice way. I used nice words as well. But the thing which I would like to share with you, that I realized that okay, this is my forte. Like I don't have to read the story to recite to anyone or narrate it to anyone. The thing is that something works for you, and it's not maybe possible that it also works for me. Like one thing is working for you, it is suiting to you, it suits you. And on the other hand, the different thing, different kind of genre suits to me, works for me. So that I realized yesterday when I watched that short movie and I narrated that story in my own words. I was not thinking about the sentence formation, the sentence I was using, and I was constructing, I was saying things, meaning I was not, translating the things. The story was in my, like it was in front of my sight, and it was kind of, picture formation is going on, and I was saying the story, and it was really, I can say, a different kind of feeling the kind of experience I had. It was not really difficult for me, as I earlier it used to be when there was a time I used to feel very like kind of, difficulties I had been facing when it came to recite the story. It was this much arduous for me, but now I realized, and yesterday I realized, that it's a cakewalk for me. So what I would like to share with you, by explaining all the things, elaborating all the things, that one thing suits for one person, but it not necessarily required that the same thing suits to you, works for you. So the thing is that try to explore the things. Okay, storytelling is really important thing, and it plays a very pivotal role in our life. You can look it around yourself. Each and everything has one small short story. So the thing is, how do you define the story, elaborate the story? That really important. And when it comes to recite the story in English language, not in your mother tongue, so it becomes a little bit harder. So what works for you, that is a really important part, and you have to that moment manage all the things and juggle the things, like what works for you. In my case, this worked for me, meaning watching any movie, whether it's in my mother tongue, which I watched movie in Hindi, not in English, even though I was this much capable to recite the story in a very nice way. And it was a kind of feeling which I had, that the scenery was in front of my eyes, it was in front of my sight, and I can see that story, the whole story, and one by one the things occurred, the events occurred, and I recited, I narrated, like was same thing, like it was not, it was not oscillating here and there. I recited the story straight forward, just thinking about the story. Okay, this happened, after that this happened, like was this, event by event, back to back, whatever things happened in that story, I recited. So there I found, like, okay, this is my forte. Like watching anything, and it's just going to inculcate in your mind if it is really interesting, and somewhere it has a meaning. If it is has a meaning, and you feel like really, touched, and you are feeling like melting, so this means somewhere it is touching to your heart, and it is just going to get stored in your mind. What you have to do next is say this, recite that story in your own words. Don't think about the words, the grammar rules, and the sentence, and the, translation formation, nothing. The story you watched, okay, by using your eyes, ear, and your brain wires, that really going to help you a lot to understand the story, comprehend the story, and then recite the story to anyone else's. So this happened with me, and I'm really sure that it is going to work for you. So try to watch any simple short story which really interesting and quite intriguing, and it will really help you to recite the story anytime with anyone in your own words. So this is all I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much.